wasn't sure how she'd got through it all. She wondered how any mother got through them, although she supposed most mothers had help of sorts, if not a spouse or partner, maybe a mother of their own. Kat had none of those people in her life, and everything had fallen on her shoulders. Not, she reminded herself sharply, that she had any regrets. She desperately wanted her baby, and thanked the universe for her every day. It was just sometimes she wondered how they were going to cope as Hattie grew, and the flat became increasingly unsuitable for their needs. Well, she'd have to do something about it. She needed to save up and find herself a bigger flat. Maybe even a house with a garden and... But she laughed to herself as she realised what an impossible dream that was. For a start, most flats and houses in Tuppenny Bridge that weren't passed down through generations of families ended up being sold off as holiday lets. This pretty market town in the Yorkshire Dales drew many visitors, and there was a good deal of money to be made from letting out properties to holiday makers. It caused a fair bit of resentment and a lot of grumbling among the residents of the town. Conversely, it provided many of them with a good living. It was the visitors who vastly swelled the number of people touring the museum and the brewery, browsing the market, visiting the art gallery, drinking in the pubs, eating in the restaurants and cafes, and paying the frankly extortionate prices charged in some of the gift shops. As annoying as it sometimes was to find the riverbank packed with picnickers when all you wanted to do was go for a peaceful stroll, finding yourself jostling for a seat in the pub or queuing at a market stall, Kat couldn't deny the tourists were the town's lifeblood. It did, though, mean that for people like her, finding somewhere suitable to live was almost impossible. Maybe, she thought, she'd have to look a bit further afield. But then her job and her friends were in Tuppenny Bridge, not to mention the only relatives she had left in the world. Well, in Yorkshire, which was practically the same thing. She smiled fondly as she thought of Birdie and Rita, her great aunts. They were eccentric, to say the least, but they'd been nothing but kind to her, and she didn't know where she'd be without them. It was their wool shop she worked in, at least when she wasn't on maternity leave, and they allowed her to live in the flat above the shop, paying a ridiculously low rent. Cradling the cup of tea between her hands, she realised she was incredibly lucky, really. Okay, life had dealt her a few harsh blows, but it could have been worse. A lot worse. The aunties had made so many things possible for her, not least having Hattie. She wondered if she should cut her maternity leave short and go back to work earlier than planned. It would mean she could put a bit extra aside to save up for a deposit on a bigger place. She might have to look in one of the villages, one with regular public transport because she didn't drive. There must be something out there that she could afford. She wrinkled her nose as Hattie's wail echoed around the flat. She was a bit early, and the bottle wasn't ready yet, but hopefully she'd wait patiently while Kat prepared her breakfast. Hattie had taken a liking to porridge lately, so there was that to make too. And after breakfast, when they were both fed and dressed, she was meeting her best friend Sally Kingston at the market cafe for a coffee and a pastry. Sally had offered to come round to the flat, but Kat had been glad of an excuse to get out. These four walls were driving her crazy, and she fancied sitting somewhere where she could see real people living real lives instead of getting her only fix of society through a television screen. Maybe, she thought, getting to her feet as Hattie wailed again, she'd even put a bit of mascara and lippy on, if she could remember where she'd left them. "I don't like porridge." Tommy's statement was enough to make Jonas stand stock still in dread. He closed his eyes briefly, then spun round to face the 6-year-old, who was sitting at the table looking impossibly angelic with his round face, big brown eyes, and mop of dark curls. "Since when?" Tommy shrugged. "Ages. Can I have toast and peanut butter?" "No, you can't." "Well, I love peanut butter." "I know you do. That's why you've got peanut butter sandwiches in your packed lunch. And you can't have practically the same thing."